going on, y'all? Welcome to Marshall Time, episode 14. That's crazy, right?
Yeah,
Almost getting to
bro.
20. How's it going?
Time is flying, bro. I'm good. How you doing?
Can't complain. So we finally reached it. NBA Finals time. We got our matchup. Obviously, Denver has been the team out west. They've been waiting for a little bit. Miami and Boston took some time to figure that out. So we got the Heat, which I think we both picked. We both picked Boston, right?
Yeah.
And so that sort of is the surprise. I mean, I expected Denver to be at this point. We talked about this in the Lakers series. I just feel like they've been the best team in the West these playoffs, and honestly, the best team in the playoffs, period. And also throughout the season, looking back at it, just consistent from opening tip from game one to now, just with how they play, the energy, it really hasn't tailed off. You know, we can't say that about most teams in this league, and that's why they're here. Miami, Boston, man, you know, we talk about the Heat every year. That's a team that you don't want to face. But this year is wild because they lost to Atlanta in the play-in, and they were losing to Chicago in the play-in, in that second play-in game where they would have been eliminated, period. So, you know, they have Jimmy Butler, Bam Adebayo, the Heat culture, Eric Spoelstra, but this season has been so improbable. I mean, you beat the Bucks, beat the Knicks, you beat the Celtics, all teams where I would say most people would have those other teams favored. And now here they are now. And so you look at the Denver-Miami matchup at this point, you can't doubt Miami because they've made it this far. They've beaten the odds. I feel like Denver, though, this feels like their year. We see teams take different steps over the years before they finally reach that pinnacle. I feel like Denver's been knocking on that door, you know, and the reason why a lot of people really haven't believed in them this year because they've been at this point and they just haven't been able to get over the hump. I feel like this year is different. The Joker continues to elevate his game. Jamal Murray seems to be getting back to his game. Michael Porter Jr. is healthy. Getting Bruce Brown, getting Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, these role players that they haven't had in the past. Looking at Aaron Gordon, who they haven't had in the past, right? Michael Malone, he's had some time in this system to coach his guys up. And so they've just seemed like really focused this year throughout the playoffs, especially. And so you don't want to count on Miami, especially what they've done. And I've learned my lesson about that in that Boston series. I really thought Boston would figure it out eventually, but Miami's tough. But that home court advantage Denver has, Miami just got a long game 7 series. I can see a case where Miami may not have a lot left in the tank, especially Jimmy Butler. He does a lot for that team. You know, I can see that happening, but I got to go Denver in 6 right now. That would be my pick, Denver in 6. I'll give Miami 2 wins. I just think Denver's going to be too good. The energy that they play with. They're not going to have the mental lapses that Boston has. Not going to fall in love with the three-pointer that Boston had. That, you know, Boston does that. So just the way that they play, how hard they play, it's going to be a good test for Miami. I like Denver.
Yeah, I agree. I've been going back and forth between Denver and 5, Denver and 6. But I'm gonna go Denver in 6 just because the Heat, hey, they earned my respect throughout this playoff run. So it's only right that I give them 2 games. Um, Either way it goes, this is a great story for them. I know everybody's, a perfect world, it's no such thing as second place or whatever, and that's true. But just from them, struggling in the play-in to where they are now is just crazy. And you just look at, the stories on the team. You got D2 players, you got players that have been cut, bounced around the league. Like Caleb Martin was cut by the Hornets. J. Cole had to help him get on the Heat. You got Max Strus that was cut by the Celtics when he first got to the league, and now he ended up eliminating them. It's just a great story. And just the thing I'm really looking forward to in this series, and I think it's just a testament to both superstars on the team, is Jimmy Butler and Nikola. It's just the fact that they don't care about anything other than winning. And that's all that really matters at the end of the day. You got Jimmy Butler. He doesn't care about all-star teams. He doesn't care about first teams. He doesn't care about defensive teams. Nikola, yeah, he has 2 MVPs, but truthfully, he could care less about the MVPs. They just want to win. And I think that's just something we shouldn't take for granted, especially in this day and age where players, they're all worried about their brand, worried about, social media, their pregame fits. All that stuff is cool, but sometimes it gets lost in the mix of what the sport is really all about. And that's just, trying your best to win and leaving it all out on the court. So I just want to give a big kudos to them. And I mean, and that's the reason why these two players are here. You know, they've led their teams here, and now it's time to watch them and see how it goes. But I think Denver just going to be too much in the long run. I mean, you got Nikola, they have no answer for him. Jamal Murray's playing, out of this world. And then everybody on Denver knows their role. So when you got those things going for you, and you already spoke on the home court advantage, I mean, I don't see how they lose. But the Heat do have a chance. Tyler Hero may come back if they can steal one. Give them some time to come back. Things might, change up. But I'm going with Denver in 6.
Yeah, and I really, a lot of the conversation with this is Denver and Miami is not just a bad finals matchup. And I think that comes down to just you're talking about ratings and the casual fan, but I think Denver's been one of the more exciting teams to watch. We really watch games every night during the season. We have the league pass, right? And so I think of the top 5 teams that I've watched this year. Obviously, the Sixers are up there. The Kings have been up there, but the Nuggets have been high on that list. Like, and it was pretty early where I tuned into what they got going on and just their style of play, how they play, the energy. You have a guy in Joker who is one of the most skilled players we've seen ever. And so you got to give a lot of credit to Denver. Like, this just isn't some run-of-the-mill team. This isn't like, oh, man, this is just a bad series, bad team to watch in the finals. No, like, this is a team that actually plays basketball in an exciting fashion. But I think people just don't realize it. They think they picture the city, right? It's not LA, it's not Boston, it's not New York, it's not Philly, Golden State, But just look at the team and how they play. They play ball better than 90% of the teams in the league, 95% of the league. If you watch these basketball games on a Tuesday, Wednesday on League Pass, it can get rough, right? Every time I watch Denver, it's on point. Like, the energy, the excitement just is there. And a guy like Joker, how he gets his teammates involved. I mean, that's what makes it exciting. So I think hopefully people are really starting to pay attention now to what Denver has going. This has been in the making. Like I said, this has been in the making for a few years now. I don't see it stopping. So to me, like you mentioned, the superstars in this series, I think to me, this is a credit to 2 franchises who have done it right. From the front office to the coaching to the roster. A lot of teams, a lot of franchises try to, mimic certain styles of play, like what Golden State does, the 3-ball and how they play, right? But are you committed to develop guys to be able to play that way, right? So I look at Denver and Miami, look at their roster. A lot of homegrown talent, but also guys who may not have had a lot of attention coming into it or may have been overlooked, like a Michael Porter Jr. He was the top guy in his high school class, but we know why he slipped in the draft because of the injuries. Denver said, hey, there's value in that. There's value in what he could be, maybe not now, maybe not next year, but 3 years from now. MPJ could be lethal with what we're building, with a guy like the Joker, Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. with that cast is lethal, right? So you develop that trio. Then you bring in an Aaron Gordon who maybe was just in the wrong place in the wrong role in Orlando. Now, with Joker, with Jamal Murray, with Michael Porter Jr., you got an Aaron Gordon. That's a 4th spot for him. I mean, that's perfect, right? Then you bring in a Bruce Brown who's developed these. Honestly, I don't know where this game came from. Maybe it was always there because in Brooklyn, he was with KD, Kyrie, and Harden, right? So now you're in a system, you're in a place in Denver that believes in your talent and wants to foster that and give you that confidence. You can see a totally different ball player, right? You bring in Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, a veteran who has championship experience. He won with the Lakers. Add that to the mix. You even got a rookie in Christian Braun who hasn't gotten a lot of playing time, but he's getting minutes, right? And you can slowly see his value and what he could be in a couple of years. And then Miami, the undrafted story, Gabe Vincent, Duncan Robinson, Max Strus, Caleb Martin, as you mentioned. I think it's a testament to these franchises because there's talent everywhere, right? How many first round picks don't pan out? How many lottery picks don't pan out? But I was texting some friends. I said, I'm kind of glad that this is the matchup because it's showing these teams there's no excuse. There's no excuse not to win, not to compete. Because if Miami can find and rely on a handful of undrafted guys, and Caleb Martin at certain points in that series against Boston was carrying those guys, right? And so it's not only just evaluating talent and bringing that talent in, but actually taking the time to develop that talent. A lot of franchises don't have that ability. Maybe they don't even want to or even know how to foster that environment, right? And so I think Denver Miami is just great for the league. I love it because it's showing these teams that, look, you can go for the big names, but if you don't have that strong foundation of development, because the big names can't win it on their own, right? Like Jimmy Butler can't win it on his own. Like Jimmy Butler is a big name for Miami, but Caleb Martin was huge. He needed Caleb Martin's help. The Joker is a big name, but he needs Aaron Gordon, right? He needs a Bruce Brown. He needs a Contavious Caldwell Pope. So to me, there's no excuse for these teams not to succeed. Like you can find talent anywhere, but you just got to have the ability and the want to develop and give these teams and these players time to develop, because that's what it comes down to. This has been a process for the Nuggets. This has been a process for the Heat. Like Max Strus, Gabe Vincent. These aren't like overnight stories, right? They've been through it. G League cut. Max Strus was cut by the Celtics, right? So it's a testament to their patience and the foundation from the front office down to the roster. A lot of teams should take notes. So that's my take on that.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And it's just all about like we've been saying, the culture and just getting players to buy in. Because on both sides, both teams, it's players that were, in different places in the league that may have been written off or not thought about. But once they've gotten put into the right role, they are excelling. And that's what it's really all about. And like you spoke about Michael Porter, he said it recently in an interview. He said when he first got to Denver, he wanted to be the guy to, take shots off the dribble and, take, shots laid down in the stretch of the games. But, he said he had to finally buy in and say, all right, they don't need me to do all this because we got Jokic and Murray. I'll be the catch and shoot guy. I'll up my defensive effort. And we've seen it pay off for him and the team tremendously. I remember Michael Porter when he got that contract extension. Everybody was like, "Oh my God, he's overpaid," and I'm like, "Yeah, he is overpaid when you look at it on the surface, but that's almost everybody in the league is overpaid because nobody really lives up to that $200 million price tag." But at the end of the day, if it's what Denver needs on their team and it's going to help them win the championship, who's going to really look back at it and say he's overpaid? You know what I mean? So I'm just happy that this is the finals. Whoever doesn't like this finals, it's mainly because you're a casual basketball fan, most likely, or your favorite players like LeBron and Steph and Giannis are in it, and that's cool, that's fine. But if you're a true fan of the game, the essence of the game, the nuances of the game, this is a good series. Now it may not be, the ratings. I'm sure the ratings will be there, but I'm happy that the NBA didn't fall into the trap of okay, we got to have these teams in it to make the ratings look good. They're letting the two best teams that played the best during the playoffs play, and that's all you can ask for as a true basketball fan.
I mean, people say that they like the underdog story. I mean, Miami is full of them. I mean, Denver's best player was drafted in the second round.
Yeah.
Right. I think the joke was he was drafted during a Taco Bell commercial or something. Like it wasn't even like announced live, or I guess they were on commercial, and that's when the draft pick happened. And now he's a two-time MVP. He's an MVP. Possibly could win a Finals MVP. One of the best big men we've seen. Miami. These undrafted guys, Jimmy Butler. We know the journey he's taken from Chicago, being I think it was late in the first round, but he wasn't picked to be a franchise caliber player. So I look at this series as, like we said, a testament to the culture of these two franchises. And also just stories of these guys just fighting through adversity and beating the odds. Like there are storylines to go around in this series. And just because it's not the marquee franchises, I think it's good for the league, right? You talk about parity and not having the same old teams, not having Golden State in the finals every year, right? Or Milwaukee. I love it personally. So if these fans don't like it, if these teams don't like it, well, do what Denver, Miami's doing. Do it better. Develop your talent. Like, step it up. Like, I'm looking at The Sixers, when I see this series, I look at the Sixers like, man, look, we're behind. We are behind because we haven't proven the ability to develop any talent. Like truly develop. Joel Embiid was going to be Joel Embiid, right? Tyrese Maxey was going to be Tyrese Maxey, right? But could Shake Milton benefit being in Miami, right? Like I look at stories like that, situations like that. I look at my own team, like what are we not doing? What are we getting wrong in this process, right? So I love it. No excuse for these teams not to compete for championships because you see what Denver, Miami's doing. I got Denver in 6. I respect the Heat, what they've done, so I give them a couple wins, but I feel like this is Denver's year. Like I believed in them throughout the playoffs, and I think they're going to finish the job, the first championship in franchise history. The Joker is going to add to his crazy resume, Finals MVP. That's my pick. Do you see a Joker or somebody else or a sleeper possibly taking maybe a Jamal Murray? I can see maybe a Jamal Murray. I could see a Murray taking it maybe.
I could see Jamal just off the fact that his scoring ability is crazy. He could go off for 25 in one quarter. Like, so I think it's going to come down to like how close the series is. Timely buckets, timely, clutch plays, clutch situations. But of course, the easy pick is Jokic, but it could very well be Jamal. But I'm gonna go with Jokic for my Finals MVP too. And I mean, he's been dominant all year. The Nuggets has been a dominant team all year, so it's only
Yeah.
right that they ended that way.
I was thinking about before we close out, I was thinking about just past final series and how there's always one or two guys you wouldn't expect to make big shots. I'm looking at these rosters like, man, Denver has a couple guys if whether Michael Malone wants to switch things up, maybe to produce some energy, maybe there's foul trouble, whatever the case. They have a couple guys I think could shift a quarter or maybe 5 minutes. Reggie Jackson or Ish Smith. People forget like these are two legit backup point guards, and they just been sitting, chilling. And we know what Ish Smith can do. We saw what he did in Philly and how exciting he was with his quickness. And Reggie Jackson, well respected, coming over from the Clippers. He's played some viable minutes in the playoffs in the past. So I look at what Denver, I mean, they have a couple guys that you never know. Reggie Jackson and Ish Smith off the bench if needed. I wouldn't be shocked. So just something I don't know, just a thought in my head. They haven't played much. I don't think Ish just played at all these playoffs, right?
No, I
I
haven't
don't
seen
even
him
recall
out
seeing
there.
Reggie Jackson play much.
Yeah, I think Reggie Jackson might have played a little bit, but that's a very good point. I mean, we always see guys all the time step up when they're called on if needed to be, and that's like the X factor a lot of times. So for sure,
And one thing about Ish Smith and Reggie Jackson, they're gonna be ready. I
yeah,
know Ish is gonna be ready.
yeah. Reggie
So
Reggie
those
is
two
too.
guys, especially Ish, he can change the energy and tempo of a game. Um, so that's what I'm looking at for Denver, especially. I think even in that conversation, I like what Denver can bring, just a little extra, something different. If they want to make any adjustments, Ish Smith can definitely change the pace. And Reggie Jackson is very capable of playing some minutes in this series for sure. So just something to think about. Anything else you want to finish
Yeah,
after we finish out?
yeah. Well, who's your prediction? What's your prediction from Game 1?
I'm gonna say Denver. I think Miami. I mean, you can go at this either way, right? The long layoff for Denver, but also in Miami, that was a hard series, right? Up 3-0. It was hard physically, but also mentally, right? Just think about mentally what they had to fight through. The first team to possibly give up a 3-0 series lead in Game 7, huge win. That's a lot, right? And so that was only a couple days ago. Only a couple days ago. It was Monday. So I think Denver will have the edge tonight. I think they will. It wouldn't shock me if Miami comes out a little flat. That Denver altitude, that home court advantage. I think Denver's ready. They've been waiting for this. I think they're ready. They are.
So I actually think Miami's going to win Game 1. I still think Denver's going to win the series, but I think Miami. I think they're just going to be. To me, when teams have like a long break, I just feel like it throws them off, no matter who it is. And I just feel like Miami, I feel like they kind of need to win this first game in a sense. Not that they literally need to, but it's like to
Mhm.
send a message because I believe Denver has been undefeated at home during this playoffs. And I feel like Miami if they want to make this a real threat of a series, they have to steal this first game. And I think Jimmy knows that. I think the team knows that. So I think they're going to come out and win this first game.
Yeah,
Um,
I want to see if Miami's guys can keep up their level of play. Like Caleb
yeah,
Martin played out of his mind. Gabe
yeah,
Vincent, like I'm a believer that things eventually settle down to the average in these situations in these games. And so I want to see if that levels out eventually, right? Like Caleb Martin has proven to be a really good player, but is he going to be going off like that again? I got to see it. I don't know, right?
yeah.
I got to see it.
I don't know. Like part of me wants to be like, nah, but the buckets I see him getting, not even just that Celtics series, just his playoffs as a whole, I'm like,
Mm-hmm.
all right, it might be real because he keeps doing it. You know what I mean? It's not like he's having one game.
Oh yeah.
To me, honestly, he should have been the Eastern Conference Finals MVP. That would have been my vote. You could have voted either way, but that would have been my vote.
Oh, for sure. Now it's
So,
definitely real.
so I don't know.
It's just, man, Denver's a different animal compared to Boston. It's a
No, definitely,
different animal,
definitely.
right? So we're gonna see. I think Denver wins. I can honestly see Denver winning the first two games at home. I can see that.
If they win their first two, it's never a five. So that's my thing. I feel like
Yeah,
Miami has to still win, and I feel like no better way to do it than the first game.
because Denver's not going to let up. This isn't
Exactly. The same thing in the Lakers series.
Boston,
Same thing in the Lakers
right?
series. They won two. They won two in
Yeah.
Denver, and then they got them out of their own. They not playing with
Yeah.
nobody.
Like they haven't played around at all throughout these
Right.
playoffs. In every series, they haven't been playing around. Like they've been getting it done. Like they've been the most consistent team. Looking back at it, these are the most consistent teams when it comes to how they play, their effort. It's the most consistent. So it all checks out. But I got Denver tonight, Denver in 6. You got Denver in 6 too. So game one tonight. It's about to tip off in about 10 minutes. Next time we'll be talking. Could be Denver 2-0. We'll see. I think it's every other day, right? It's
Yeah, it should
Thursday.
be every other day.
Yeah, every other day. So okay. Let's see what happens. Hope y'all enjoy the finals. Definitely take this in. This is good basketball. This is good basketball. So we'll be talking to y'all next time. Thanks for watching. Make sure you subscribe, YouTube channel, like us, share it on your social medias.